The following is an exclusive presentation of News Radio KMAN, your home for K-State athletics. This is Wildcat Insider with the voice of the Wildcats, Wyatt Thompson, and KMAN Sports Director, Mitch Fortner.
Well, for the second time in 5 games, K-State hoops spirits are crushed in a late three-pointer that gives their opponent the lead. The Cats can't get it back, and this time around they lose on the road. After nearly a historic loss against West Virginia, they come back and win that. Cats can't get it done at Cincinnati. That final score this past Saturday night, 74-72. And K-State is now 17-12, and they're 7-9 in Big 12 play, which is tied for 9th in the Big 12. Welcome to a new edition of Wildcat Insider. Mitch Fortner and the voice of the Cats, Wyatt Thompson. AJ Shaw wearing his lavender polo today. He'll be taking your calls if you want to call in and chime in about the Cats. Not only we can talk men's basketball, we can talk women's basketball. Spring football starts officially tomorrow. Cats just swept UMass Lowell. Whatever you want to talk about, give us a call, 537-1350. Again, 785-537-1350 to call the show. Welcome back, Wyatt. How was the first trip to Cincinnati with them in the Big 12?
Very interesting. Heartbreaking game, of course. I guess you have to start with that. But I had been to the city of Cincinnati before, actually played Xavier in basketball there with K-State, as you know. Very interesting sports city with the history of, the Bearcats basketball going back into the late 50s, early 60s with Oscar Robertson and a couple of championships and those types of things, but also the Cincinnati Reds, with their great history of the National League dating back to the late 1880s, I guess. So it is a unique sports town. Enjoyed visiting with my counterpart there, Dan Horde, who's also the voice of the Bengals. So I enjoyed that part of it, but frustration certainly with the way the game played out and obviously the ending with the Lukosius 3 and K-State falling, again on the road in just tough fashion. The thing that sticks out, I think, to coach and to everybody is really when you can look all day and break it down however you want, but 29-6 Cincinnati with the advantage points off turnovers, you just can't overcome that.
That was a nasty number. On Saturday, it stole the show in a way for K-State. First half, a couple of things came to mind about K-State falling behind early. Took a while to start hitting a couple of shots. Yeah, the offense was back to more of its sluggish play. Did not have the spark like it did in the 2 previous games that K-State won against BYU and against West Virginia. There was that, and Cincinnati was hitting more shots than they typically do. I mean, they hit 4 threes in the first half by guys that don't do a great job of hitting threes. And Cincinnati as a whole is the worst three-point shooting team in the Big 12. The 3 previous games before the Cats played on Saturday, they had hit no more than 5 in the last 3 games per game. And they come out and hit 4. So, just watching that and knowing those numbers, that kind of stunned me in a way because it was like, oh, great, now here comes another opponent that's not very good, at least not in this second half of the Big 12, and now they're playing above average just about everywhere.
Well, let's talk about their three-point shooting because they were 4 of 11 in the first half, and they were 4 of 10 in the second half, and it really was a factor in the game because at the end of the day, the game-winning shot was a 3 from Lukosius, and he finished 3 of 8. Day Thomas was 2 of 5, 2 of 3 for John Newman. And if you really look at Thomas and Newman and what they have done for most of the year, and even Josh Reed, who hit his lone try, those guys, as you said, they are not three-point shooters. Lukosius certainly is, but that hurt that they hit 8 threes. So at the end of the day, again, you look at that points off turnovers, the fact that K-State turned the ball over 19 times. But how about this? Cincinnati's offense, they played without Dan Skillings. Let's put that into perspective, too, because he had a hip issue. He is actually their leading scorer going into our game Saturday night in Big 12 play at 12.5. And he's really, really athletic. K-State got a break there.
Yeah.
They also got a little bit of a lesser break, but a break indeed where C.J. Frederick was unavailable because of the hamstring issues in both legs. But Cincinnati was better for most of the game. They led for 34 minutes and 35 seconds. And that's been kind of the deal, right? This was a game, again, where K-State had depending on where you want to start, I mean, there was I think it was a 21-4 stretch there to get back into it and actually take the lead, and then you just can't. I really thought when they took the lead, they had an opportunity because they take the lead, get a stop, then have the ball and have a chance to go up, even more than just the one. Try to make it a two-possession game. If you do that, who knows? Maybe you escape out of there with one that you could argue all day long you deserved or you didn't, but I would have taken it. Unfortunately, Tyler had a decent shot, and I'm not talking about the end of the game shot. I'm talking about at that particular moment there, probably whatever it was, a couple of minutes to go or so. Got a good look, just didn't go, and then they come down and score, and here you go.
For this team and their struggles, no more should Tyler Perry be blamed for any of it, in my opinion. I think TP over these last 8 or 9 games has been phenomenal. And he just earned Big 12 Player of the Week. Mm-hmm. He scored 29 against West Virginia, 26 against Cincinnati, and each game he's hit 6 threes. The last 4 games for K-State, he has hit 19 threes, and he's shooting 56% from three-point range. I know that's been the criticism of Tyler Perry. And that is after the first 2 or 3 games of the year, just didn't have that three-point shot that was as advertised. So he tries to adjust his game, and then his slashing, he's not beating anybody to the hoop. Well, that evolved, and now he is getting around guys, and now he's scoring at the hoop. Mm-hmm. And now what comes next? Now his three-pointer is hitting, and it's hitting at a big clip, and you would hope that a guy that hits 6 threes in a game, they can go win that game.
Right.
It now plays into the turnovers that we saw against Cincinnati, and it just, I don't know if surprise is the word, but I just was a bit shocked that Arthur Kaluma and Cam Carter combined for 12 turnovers, 6 each.
Yeah, that one hurts. Let's get back to that, but I want to make the point. You said 6 games, but I'm going to give you Tyler Perry's last 5. Okay? 21.6 points a game, 3.4 rebounds, 20 assists, 5 steals, 17 turnovers. Okay? He's shot 51.8%, 29 of 56 from the floor, 19 of 40 from 3, which is 47.5%, 31 of 33 from the foul line. But how about this? 194 minutes and 8 seconds. The next closest guy for K-State in those 5 games, 179.47 for Cam Carter. My point is he has been a warrior. He has been a warrior. In the last 3, last 5, whatever you want to say, he's been pretty darn good. Didn't get what he wanted in the last waning seconds there. Yeah. I get it. But Tyler's been really special the last 3 or 4 or 5.
I know this isn't the most fair comment, and I've seen people talk about it, that it just feels like Tyler Perry is kind of doing this all on his own. He needs some more help. Cam Carter was still in double figures. Cam on Saturday finished with 13 points. He hit 2 threes. The turnovers have been an issue for him lately, and it's like it just seems like it's more not valuing the basketball type of turnovers or trying to do too much with the basketball and make up for a previous mistake. And then Arthur Kaluma.
Arthur struggled in this game. Let's be honest. He had
shooting
6 turnovers. Was 2 of 11, 0 for 5, and he's struggling when he goes 3 for 6 from the foul line. This is an 80% foul shooter, right?
Yeah, he was off. Yeah.
-5 on the plus-minus chart. So, you're right. Those 3 guys have led K-State all year long, and generally speaking, if you have a couple of those guys on target, you got a real shot. 3, certainly, without a doubt. But in this particular game, and I'm going to say this, despite Cam's 13 points and 4 rebounds, just 1 assist, 1 steal. So, those aren't awful numbers, but they're not necessarily what K-State needs out of Cam, and certainly that's the case with the turnover.
Another factor to me was, the bigs for K-State, David Gasson and Will McNair, for the most part, scoring the basketball was kept in check. Mm-hmm. Didn't allow David to start going off and drive with the basketball and get shots at the rim. Will McNair was never really comfortable getting shots up. He had a couple of his shots blocked, and I saw they had that big Russian on the team. I was like, oh, boy, this might be a little bit of trouble. But, with them combined, not really being a force scoring the ball does take away a pretty important part of your game.
Well, very much so, because if you look at what those guys had done over their last 4 or 5 games, both of those guys were knocking on, 9-10 points a game.
Yeah.
And now in this game, when you look at David Gasson, he goes 1 for 4, Will McNair 1 for 3, and they do combine for 13 rebounds, but they only get to the foul line 4 times. So they just weren't at the same level. Fortunately for K-State, Jarrell Colbert picked up the slack.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. He had, by the way, it was a career high for him. I don't know if a lot of people realized that. His previous career high was 11. This was a 15-point game for him, and he made 5 of 8 shots. He was solid.
I was happy for him because in a number of these shots they took were like tip tries.
Yeah.
Trying to get one back in, or there was like one bad pass to him and he got a shot up and it didn't go, but that was a really tough shot anyway. Yeah, Jarrell was great. I was glad to see him come through with 15 points, 7 rebounds. He got to the free throw line. That was also pretty big that he made 5 of 6. The free throw line is what kept K-State in the game.
Yeah.
In the first half.
They lose by 15 without the foul shooting.
Yeah, because they weren't making shots. Cincinnati did a great job of hitting jumpers. K-State was not hitting jumpers. They hit 2 threes in the first half, but anything else other than everything else, outside of the paint or mid-range, just not enough good looks in the paint. That's really where K-State could score, and they had to start drawing some fouls, and they did. I mean, K-State took free throws in the
25.
21 of 25.
Yeah.
I mean, that, and especially in the first half, going 11 of 13.
When this season's over and you're bored, okay, and you're preparing for show, let's remember this subject and go back and research it and see how many box scores you can find of Big 12 only games, so conference games, where the road team shoots 25 and the home team shoots 8.
Yeah.
I'll bet you don't find many.
What was the fouls? Let's take a look at this.
Total fouls were
19 to 13.
19 to 13.
How about that?
Yeah.
K-State having 6 less fouls on the road.
Yeah. So
well, Cincinnati's new.
Sure.
They got to earn those stripes.
But I think, and I'm not knocking Cincinnati's athleticism, especially with Skillings, because he's really a good athlete. I don't know if you've watched him much at all, but he's really bouncy and just a sophomore, and they really like him, but it was pretty obvious that he wasn't going to go. He came out in sweats and never even tried to warm up. So, but when you look at Locken and Lukosius, you have to say those 2 big guys aren't necessarily all that athletic. The athleticism comes from Bandego at the post, and then Newman is a really, really, really good defender at the 2-guard position, and he also can guard the 3 from time to time, and maybe that's in part why Arthur went 2 of 11. But they're a little bit more athletic when you get into the Jizzle James kid. He was 5 of 11 against K-State in the game. It was pretty quiet, but boy, he made some big shots later in the game.
So everybody knows this part of the story, and that is now with the loss, K-State is now once again, according to bracketology, barely hanging on to the bubble. Mm-hmm. And once again on Joe Lunardi's bracketology, K-State is like the very last team listed. It's not the first 4 out, it's not the next 4 out, it's the next 4 out. In K-State's the last team listed. So according to Joe Lunardi, I don't know if you buy in much to his bracketology, but according to that, K-State's just barely still on the bubble, which now what that means is must-win games.
Well,
there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
They've taken out everything else on the table, right? I mean, you needed to get the Cincinnati game because that would have been a quad 1 road win.
Yes.
That would have been huge. And again, that goes to the frustration of how close they've been on the road, because think about how many times they've trailed double digits and come back and either taken the lead or got within a possession or tied the game. Iowa State, Texas Tech, Saturday night, Provo. I mean, they're not that far away, and yet there are just enough warts that, you can't quite get over the hump. And in this one, again, you go back to that 29 points is staggering off of turnovers. Staggering.
One more thing, just looking, next game, next couple of games, Big 12 tournament is coming up here soon. The women, their tournament starts on Thursday. We'll talk about in the next segment. I want Day Ames to shoot it more.
Yeah,
I think he's found something. He hit the first shot of the game, like 17 minutes to go in the first half. Day hits a three. I mean, Day in the last 3 games is 5 of 9 from 3. Mm-hmm. I think he has found his shot a little bit, and I'd like for him to be a little bit more of an option. A secondary option for K-State to swing it over, and maybe he hits a shot. Try to get him going a little bit more.
Yeah, I think with all 3 of those freshmen, you can say that it's been a tough season for them, but a learning one that I think they will benefit from down the road. But of the 3, Day is the most capable right now, and I think that's played out, right? I mean, his toughness, his ability to defend, he can shoot the ball. I'm anxious to see what all 3 look like next year, but you're right. I mean, his toughness has given him a chance to be into that starting lineup and play, whatever. Let's see. Let me look at. I want to be accurate here. So, let's see. He is averaging just under 20 minutes a game, about 19 and a half minutes a game. So, that's pretty good for a true freshman.
Let's take a break. We got until 6 o'clock. Talk a lot more K-State athletics. Oh my
Sorry
goodness!
I just dropped
Hope
my
nothing
keys.
just broke. Kind of scared me. A second I jumped. I was like, did I hear that? Okay, anyway. Batcats coming up at 4:40. We'll also take a look at the Big 12 standings, where it currently sits at the end of this hour, plus in hour number 2. We're going to hear from Chris Kleiman, who had a press conference earlier today, talking spring football for the Cats, which officially starts tomorrow. When we come back, let's take a look at the K-State women. This past weekend, playing at Texas Tech, they did something I think that was just really needed to get them right. We'll discuss coming up next here on Wildcat Insider. We're back on Wildcat Insider. Mitch Fortner with the voice of the Cats. Wyatt Thompson, AJ Shaw's on our board. If you want to call in and talk Cats, 785-537-1350 is the number to call. We just talked K-State men's basketball. We'll talk more about the men in hour number 2, because they have the road trip to KU tomorrow for an 8 o'clock tip-off. We'll join that broadcast, of course, Wyatt on the broadcast, in progress after K-State baseball. They play at Tennessee with first pitch at 5 o'clock. SEC country, top 10 team.
Yeah.
As the Cats will go on the road, and we'll talk more Batcats later in the show as well. I wanted to touch on the K-State women. It's been a bit of a bumpy road lately, and that's thanks to Iowa State. I maybe it's for lack of a better word, but I think Jeff Mittie and the K-State women just for years have been cursed against Iowa State. I don't know what it is. Year after year, if they're the better team or not the better team, just Iowa State for some reason gets the upper hand on K-State, and they got a good underrated team, does Iowa State, and they actually got the 4th seed in the women's tournament.
I would say this, and everybody knows this. This isn't going to be spanking brand new news, but Bill Finley can really coach.
Yeah,
and he's taken a team that has a couple of pieces that are veteran, and then meshed some young kids with them that weren't where they were not much in November and December, and they're pretty darn good right now. So he's done a really good job of bringing them along slowly but surely. He's fortunate that he has a really big gal at the 5 who can be a difference-making player with her strength. And as big as she is, she's also pretty athletic for a young lady her size.
Yeah.
And then you look at, the 2 Kansas kids have really helped him. Emily Ryan, of course, is she's been there a long time. I guess she's going to come back for another year, a 5th year. So.
Oh, she wants to break all. She wants to own some records.
Sure.
Yeah.
But my point is that I think they've been a basketball team that was scary from the beginning, but really scary late, right? Over the last month and a half, they've been a ton better.
Well, the K-State women will be the 3 seed in the Big 12 tournament. They finished 24-6 overall in the regular season, 13-5 in the Big 12, 2 games back of Oklahoma, who won the Big 12 title, and they're actually the 4th highest-ranked team in the Big 12 when it comes to the AP Top 25. But K-State also wraps up the regular season losing 3 of 6 with back-to-back losses to KU and Iowa State. And KU just beat Oklahoma, as a matter of fact, over the weekend. But they also went down to Texas Tech on Saturday, and what took place there is what I thought was needed for this team. And that's go on the road in Big 12 play and just go kick somebody's butt.
Yeah, and they certainly did that, didn't they?
Yeah, they won 73-49. And Texas Tech has had their struggles this year. They finished just a game above 500. They're just 5 wins in the conference, but I think they went on the road and did what was expected. Just go beat somebody up. Go get some of that confidence back for everybody. You know, Gabby, she hit 3 threes in the game. I thought that was huge. Serena Sundell taking just 1 3, got to the hoop, made 6 field goals. Turnover numbers weren't that high, just had 2, and she's struggled with the turnovers. I mean, K-State as a team is doing a better job of taking care of the basketball. They had just 9, didn't live or die by the 3-point line, and Yoki and Serena, they need to do a better job at the free throw shooting. That is really starting to worry me. The free throw shooting.
Yeah, both were 1 for 4.
But Yoki finished with 11 points and 6 rebounds. I thought it was scoring 73 points, 4 in double figures. There was a team effort. Sanchez with 7 points. And, I think Eliza Maupin and both her and Gisela Sanchez just, they're not playing to their full potential yet. But we've seen moments where we've seen them both be extremely good, along with Terrence Sides and Zy Walker.
Let's talk about the defense a second, too, because when you really get down to it, let's put it into perspective this way with how well they played defensively in the first half. 17 total points for Tech, and they went 5 of 25 from the field in the first half. That's playing pretty good defense. That's getting right after them. They were 2 of 13 in the first, 3 of 12 in the second quarter. And again, they scored 6 points in the first period and 11 in the second. That's crazy.
It's the advertised defense K-State has played for most of the year.
Sure.
Up until when Yoki got hurt. And even 2 or 3 games into Yoki's injury that she missed, K-State's defense was still really good. Obviously, the offense is what took a hit, and they didn't have as many blocked shots. But K-State still ends the regular season with the best scoring defense, the best shooting defense, and the best block-shotting team in the conference. And so, I mean, at least K-State still is holding on to those good numbers, and that'll carry on into postseason play that starts on Thursday.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. K-State will not play until Saturday.
Right. They get the double bye because of the 3 seed.
Correct. As the 3rd seed, they'll play Saturday against, let's see, there's a possibility of 3 different teams, right?
So day 1 on K-State's side of the bracket is the 11-14 matchup at Cincinnati and UCF. Winner of that game will play West Virginia on Friday. And the winner of West Virginia and the other 2 teams will play K-State at 8 o'clock on Saturday.
So you're squarely looking at another matchup with West Virginia, and they're a little bit dangerous. There's no doubt about that.
I think if there's one team that I didn't want to see again if I'm K-State that wasn't Iowa State, it's West Virginia.
Probably so. Yeah, it's been an interesting year in the women's side, because let's be honest, we were talking off air about the fact that Oklahoma won the league by 2 games. Am I still accurate on that? Is that right? They won by 2 games?
Yeah, let me go double check here real quick. I have it. Oklahoma won by 1 game. They did lose to KU, but they had it locked up.
Right, they did
last weekend.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, but the point is this. When you look at the national rankings, they're probably not as high as some of the other Big 12 teams. Why? Well, their non-conference wasn't really very good, and they've really prospered in the Big 12, turning it on a little bit. So from that perspective, it's been a little bit different. And then you've got the K-State team that went out there, early and just was kicking everybody. So it's been uniquely different. Oklahoma, though, coming on, they were good throughout most of the season. You're right, they got upset in Lawrence, but as it turns out, KU's pretty good too.
I mean, everybody, when it comes to the 4 seeds, even into West Virginia, they're all really, really good. Like one of the best teams in the country. It's something very key. Like West Virginia is the best at forcing turnovers. They force like 23 a game. That is an average game.
That's crazy good
for their defense.
Yeah.
Oklahoma is the fastest-paced team in the country. I think Texas is one of the most athletic teams in the country, especially with their forwards. K-State, I think they got the tougher half of the bracket because they have both Texas and West Virginia on that side.
Yeah, that's probably true. And sometimes that happens when you're the 3, and that's why it's a little bit frustrating with the way they finished up. But, hey, you got to go. And I'm thinking that if you win a game or two here, you're probably going to host. Don't you think? That's what I'm thinking.
You know what? Speaking of that,
at least have a real shot. I mean, they're right there, right on the cusp of it.
Let's take a break because when we come back, we're gonna change things up a little bit because I just actually organized something.
Okay.
When we come back, Jeff Mittie is going to call in.
Nice.
And we're going to let's talk about that, and let's talk about the finish of the regular season. Looking forward to the Big 12 tournament, the new format, and what the head coach of the Wildcats women's basketball team thinks about that. So Jeff Mittie, K-State women's basketball coach, will call in next. Wildcat Insider continues with Mitch Fortner, the voice of the Cats, Wyatt Thompson, and A.J. Shaw on the board. Still to come in hour number 2, we're going to hear from K-State football coach Chris Kleiman previewing K-State spring practice, which begins tomorrow. They'll have a couple of practices before spring break, and then they're back after spring break. Plus, take a look at the Kansas Jayhawks and K-State, who play tomorrow inside of Allen Fieldhouse. But now we are joined by K-State women's basketball coach Jeff Mittie. His team just picked up a big win this past Saturday to wrap up the regular season, beating Texas Tech on the road, and that final score for the K-State women was 73-49 to finish third place in the Big 12. Coach, congratulations on the win. Was there a part or two, one or two things about that game you felt like maybe got a little bit more back on track with such a big win?
Yeah, I think probably in every area. I think I thought our defense was excellent. I thought our discipline at that end of the floor was excellent. I thought we built off the Iowa State game where we got better balance from everybody. I thought we were more aggressive. I thought our guard play was better. So, yeah, and then, we haven't had a game in what felt like a long, long time that we ran away from somebody. We've been in so many tight games in the last 4 or 5 weeks that it felt good just to look over on the bench and see Lee sitting there because of rest and not injuries, and having being able to rest Briley after she tweaked her ankle. So, yeah, I think it was a good performance by our group. Coach,
you talked about the defense, and I have to ask you about that. It's hard not to notice when you look at the box score that Tech in the first half scored only 17 points and went 5 for 25 from the floor. That's clamping them down pretty hard.
I tell you what, we were really good. I tell you what, our group was really. Yeah, they were really. I think there was some fatigue, but they were really determined. They're a really good performance. We had a really good preparation Friday for Saturday, and I could tell they were locked in, and it was good to see them put together that kind of performance.
I see Texas Tech. They have a player named Bailey Maupin. Is Eliza and Bailey, are they related at all?
Not at all. Not at all. No, not at all. We actually recruited Bailey. She's from a little small town about 30, 40 minutes from Lubbock, and good player, really good player.
Have you been, speaking of really good player, I know Gabby's shot hasn't been what it was last year, but is it encouraging to see her now start to hit some shots right before you start postseason play in the Big 12 tournament?
We've seen it in practice. She, there's no doubt that she's been frustrated with not making as many shots. We had a talk before senior night, and I just told her, you got to put it behind you what's already happened. I said, I kind of use the baseball analogy. I go, in terms of, if you're in a slump early in the year, you can't keep looking at that number. You just got to focus on your next 5 games, your next 8 games, whatever, how many we have left. You could be the hottest shooter in the NCAA the next 8 games. And, I don't know. She's a competitor. She wants to make every shot, as they all do, but Gabby certainly feels a responsibility. But good to see her relax and knock some shots down.
Jeff Mittie, our guest. Coach, I wanted to ask you just about the strength of the league, because I think some people see the league as being very good and what have you. Some are questioning it just a little bit, and I say that from this perspective. K-State had a couple of ball games there that were really tough down the stretch. And then you have Oklahoma, who didn't necessarily play all that well in the non-con, but played really, really well in conference play. KU played well late. Iowa State played well late. Kind of give us a sense of what you thought the race was like, and how strong the league is this time.
I think as you know, the season goes in phases, and in terms of how your team's playing, how they're feeling, all those things. And the one thing that is different this year than we've ever experienced in the Big 12 is the unbalanced schedules. So you look at a team like, I think West Virginia is really, really good.
Yep.
But yet, if you look at who finished in the top 4 seeds, you've got Oklahoma, Texas, us, and Iowa State. Well, we played 2 games versus Texas, 2 games versus OU, 2 games versus Iowa State. So 6 games.
Yeah.
West Virginia only played 4 games against that group. So you're going to have things that, and the one thing about it is sometimes it's as much as when you play that team. Is that team struggling? Do they have injuries? So in Oklahoma's case, they were blending in. They had a couple injuries. They lost their center, Liz Scott. They just weren't playing very good and weren't making shots early in the year. By the same token, that's also a team that went on the road at Ole Miss, who is a number 3 seed projected right now, and they beat Ole Miss by 15 or 20 in Oxford.
Wow.
But then they turned around and lost to North Carolina, who we beat, and they went like 2 of 23 from 3. So, I will just simply say this about our group. I think that, one, we got off to such a great start. We didn't lose a game for 2 months. We all got really spoiled.
It happens, doesn't it?
We did not lose a game for 2 months. I was incredibly proud of our team through the injuries. We had to win close games. We had to grind. And then it took us a little time with Lee coming back. And that's why that performance on Saturday was so good, because we just did a lot of things really, really well on Saturday. And I think that's true that before Lee's injury, that was more common to see that kind of game than not see it.
Do you realize that you said that twice, and to not lose a game at this level and in this league in 2 months, that's crazy. Well,
yeah, and some of it was the schedule fell right, but you still got to win the games.
Yep.
We had some of the newcomers early in January, and it's good because they've got to adjust to the Big 12, but you always worry as a coach is that they haven't also been beat down by the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
They're 0-0, and at the end of the day, none of those things matter if you don't do what your team can do well. And we were playing good basketball at that time. We were healthy, we were playing good basketball, and we had a lot of confidence. And but it's still unique to be able to go that long without a loss in this league, because it is so tough. So I think the league's fine. I think the league has been really good. I think there's an opportunity. We're probably looking at 7 bids. I think KU played themselves in the last week and a half of the season, and KU played one of the tougher non-conference schedules, so they really played well down the stretch. They lost some of those games early, but it looks like they played their way in.
So what's the plan with the team and getting to Kansas City and staying in Kansas City, knowing you have a double bye, and then if you win the first game, then you have a day off, and then you're back at it for Monday and Tuesday. Have you figured that out yet?
Yeah. We'll practice here on Thursday. We'll go in Thursday night. We'll grab some dinner, get some scout work done. Because of the amount of teams in the league now, the only time that we can get on the game floor will be early Friday morning. So we'll get in Thursday night, so we get on the game floor, and then we've got the 8 p.m. game on Saturday. So there's plenty of prep time when we're there, and so we'll have plenty of practice time and plenty of prep time, and so that'll be the schedule.
So the big storyline about K-State women's basketball right now is will K-State host or will they not host first couple of rounds of the NCAA tournament? And that could depend upon if you win a game or two. It's hard to tell, but it may take a game or two to win it in the Big 12 tournament to earn that. Is that the mentality heading into the Big 12 tournament? Winning a game or two, or of course, win out, you want to do that, but at least win one to host in the NCAA tournament.
Our mentality is not even the 16 seeds. Our mentality is to go win a Big 12 championship. You only get one. You get two opportunities to do that during the year. We're done with the regular season, but now 14 teams have a chance to win a Big 12 championship, and that's going to be our focus. And the secondary benefit of playing well in Kansas City is the fact that we are right there with the possibility to host in the first two rounds.
Well, I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm just interested really to see the whole new format play out and the double bye. And Saturday night you'll have either West Virginia or potentially Cincinnati and UCF. So, Coach, greatly appreciate your time. One more quick question. I know you're on the road. You're getting ready to go recruit. When you're cruising down the road on one of these road trips, what are you typically listening to? What's your road trip listening pleasure?
You knew he was going to ask that, right? You just knew it.
Yeah. Well, there's two things I'll do. As I get closer to Kansas City, I'll turn on the sports talk radio stuff just to hear some of that stuff. I'm going to lose you guys here pretty soon, so I'm almost to the Wamigo exit. So I'll lose you guys, but up until that point, there'll be some Eric Church being played. So
okay.
All right, Coach. We'll have fun recruiting, and we'll see you in Kansas City in a few days. Thank you for your time.
All right, guys. Good talking to you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
That's K-State women's basketball coach Jeff Mittie.
Did a really good job this year fighting through the rigors of the year, and Yoki going down for a little while there, and I don't know that. One of my favorite parts was when they won that game right after she went down at Baylor, man. Wow, that was awesome.
Coach, if you're still listening, if you turn it to 93.7, you have us to pretty much all the way to Topeka. So we'll take a break. We'll wrap up the hour. When we come back, take a look at this last weekend in the Big 12. You'll never believe who's no longer in contention for a Big 12 title. That major news is next. All right, wrapping up hour one of Wildcat Insider, taking a look at the Big 12 conference standings on the men's side. On the women's side, it's already settled. The seeds are filled for the Big 12 tournament, which starts this Thursday with games on ESPN+. On the men's side, the big news is KU is not in contention for a Big 12 title. As a matter of fact, Bill Self has the most losses in conference play in his career at KU. With 7.
Yeah, with 7. That's the crazy part. They're 9-7, and they're 21-8 overall. Certainly they don't have the depth that they've had in recent years, but the big thing is just the deficiency on the road. They've struggled on the road, and that's kind of where it's at. They're a good club, but they're not quite what they've been. Now, with all of that said, could you see them getting to a second weekend of the NCAA tournament if Kevin McCullough's healthy? Sure you could. Because you know why? They're going to get a good draw. Or at least you assume that they will.
I think they're going to.
Will they be a 3 seed?
Yes.
That's going to be the deal now.
Even though they're 9-7 in the Big 12, they're still a top 15 team and, high net, high everything. Yeah, they're going to get a good spot. But I think like last year, I think their depth is going to get them in a little bit of trouble. Yeah. Their lack of depth.
Yeah, and you could go and we can talk more about them next hour, but they're not the best 3-point shooting team in the land either.
Don't shoot a ton, yeah.
The free throw shooting is a little bit up and down. I mean, we saw Hunter Dickinson have a night the other night where he went 6 for 15. That doesn't happen very often. I mean, he's a 74% foul shooter, so it's interesting to kind of follow that and see what's going on. But they have struggled on the road, and that's the big one why they're 9-7.
KU tied for 4th with Texas Tech and BYU. BYU just beat them in Lawrence, which is crazy. Yeah. K-State right now tied for 9th with Oklahoma. And I think we talked about it a little bit when we talked to the phone last Monday and mentioned that I felt like if Houston beat Oklahoma Saturday, Houston has won the Big 12.
Thank you, Jamal Shedd.
Yeah.
Give him 2 rings. Seriously, did you see the end of the game?
I did not see it, but I heard about it.
Well, I think it's the third time he's won a game late for them in a magnificent season where they're 26-3. But this one was he picks up a missed shot and hits a follow bucket from about 10 feet with, I think, 0.1 to go. It was just a terrific win for them. And then Oklahoma played really well. I heard Kelvin say today that Oklahoma played about as well offensively against Houston as anybody this year. And he mentioned the KU game in Lawrence where KU beat them and then that game. So Oklahoma can be dangerous too. Big win, though, for Houston. Huge. They've got a 1-game lead with 2 to go.
Yep. Everybody has 2 games left. Houston leads Iowa State by 1 game, and then you have 3 games back in third place in Baylor. So it will come down to Houston or Iowa State, either a share or one of them will win the Big 12 title. Iowa State can still win it outright. I just don't see it happening. Houston has UCF, and then they're at home against KU. So I think Houston's going to win it out, and they're going to win an outright Big 12 title potentially with just 3 conference losses.
Yeah, and Iowa State's at home against BYU, so there's some risk there, and then they come here. So you would assume that, maybe slight, but you probably favor Houston.
Hour 2 of Wildcat Insider is coming up next on News Radio KMAN.